Hello, communication scholars. Today we're going to discuss personal identity and communication and how we communicate about our identity and how our identity is formulated using communication. The self is a multidimensional process of internalizing and acting from social perspectives, and it arises in communication with others, perspective of particular others, perspective of the generalized others. The self is essentially a fluid process, and we are always in the process of defining ourselves and discovering who we are. We're also in the process of other people telling us who we are through things like reflected self-appraisal. So the self is essentially a construction. It is a personal construction. It's a social construction. It's a work in progress, and we get a perspective of who we are based on how other people perceive us and based on how they communicate to us who we are. So we have this self concept, and that's kind of the little circle in the middle, and all sorts of things go into that self concept, and it's probably more complicated than the graphic makes it out to be. But we have these various different ways that we get defined as a person. So we have direct definition, and that's where people kind of tell us who we are. We have reflected appraisal, which is people treat us a certain way, and we come to the realization about what other people's perceptions of us are. Then we have identity scripts, and these may be things like your parents, instilled in you certain values, like maybe valuing hard work or certain different familial values. My father always said, save something for a rainy day. We also have our attachment styles, and that is how we were raised. And there's 4 different attachment styles that we'll briefly talk about. Hopefully you'll have an opportunity to explore those attachment styles in a little bit more detail in some of the journal reflection prompts. So we have these different attachment styles, and we'll just kind of very briefly touch upon them. We have an X and a Y axis here. We have this X-axis here of views of others. We have a Y-axis of views of self. We have a positive, which if your view of yourself is positive, others' view of yourself is positive, then you have a secure, sort of attachment style. These really are how our caregivers, or the people who raised us, sort of taught us to be. So we also have the anxious and ambivalent sort of style, which is kind of negative. It's being ignored when you're, not being attended to, and then it's kind of, waiting to be attended to. So sometimes, you have a lot of attention, other times you don't. Versus a caregiver who is negative and is viewed by others as negative, and that's a fearful attachment style. So clearly these two are not nearly as positive as this one, and these two with these negative elements are not nearly as positive as this one. So you have 2 that are kind of problematic. You have one that's very problematic, and then you have one that's preferred. Generally, we are referred to by other individuals, and they give us sort of an impression of who we are based on race, gender, sexual orientation, and social economic class. The perspectives of others are generalized, and they're revealed to us. We learn how they perceive us as we interact with them, and we either internalize or don't internalize those cultural values, and they pass them on to us. We learn these perspectives through media, through institutions that reflect cultural values, and all of those things kind of go into programming us to be who we are. The perspectives of the self is multidimensional. It's a process. It's socially constructed, and it may be variable. Some people may see you, as a troublemaker, but you may perceive yourself in a completely different way. So some ways that you can improve your self-concept. You commit to growth. You seek contexts that support those changes, and it's all about what you put in to your toolbox and what you put into your tank. If you are trying to grow, and you put things that are going to help you grow on your reading list, and you consume them, then you're going to get better. Let's look next at some how revealing information about ourselves to others is likely to help us, kind of discover things. There's some benefits to self-disclosure, and there's also some risks. And as you remember, on our first day of class, I said there's two primary themes that we're going to talk about. One of those themes was self-disclosure. And self-disclosure may increase trust, it may increase closeness, it may enhance self-esteem, it may increase security, and it may enhance self-growth. But there's a risk to that. You're being honest with other people, and you're kind of letting them in. Others may reject you. They may hear your story and go, great, I don't really want to be your friend. Others may think less of us, and others may violate our confidence. I'm sure all of you have said, "Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Please don't tell this to somebody else." And then, lo and behold, that other person went and told, that the other group of people what you asked them not to share with anyone. So there's some benefits. There's some risks. Relationships are essentially developed and maintained in working order based on self-disclosure. You show me a relationship where both sides are talking about themselves and talking about their experiences and being taking risks and sharing with one another, and I'll show you a healthy relationship. You show me a relationship where that's not happening, and I'll show you a relationship that's headed for trouble. So self-disclosure is the fundamental lubrication that makes relationships work. Next, let's talk real quickly about the Johari window, and this is a very important concept from this class and from this chapter in particular. Once again, you've got an X and a Y axis. We have 4 different areas here, and it's called a window because it sort of looks like a window pane if you look at these 4 different panes in the window. We have areas that are known to us. We have areas that we look at, and they're known to us. They're known to others. That's open. For instance, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I go, that would be that I'm a university professor. That's known to me. That's known to you. Now let's look at some things that are known to me, but maybe not necessarily known to you. Things that are known to me, but not necessarily known to you. That I was raised in a very small town. That there weren't very many people there, that despite the fact that it was small, it was very racially diverse. It was about a third white, a third black, and a third Latino. So it was a kind of an interesting place to be raised. It was sort of caught in a time warp, and it was like growing up in the 1950s, despite the fact that it was the 1980s. So that's something that's known to me, but not necessarily known to you until I tell you. And then here we have some things that are known to others, but maybe not necessarily known to the self, and that's called the blind area. And the blind area are things that it's pretty obvious about your character, and it's obvious, who you are to other people, but maybe that hasn't dawned on you yet. The example that I always like to use to describe this is I used to work for a horrible micromanager, and everyone in our organization knew that particular supervisor was a micromanager, but that micromanaging supervisor did not see themselves as a micromanager. And that was an example of something that was known to others, but it was not known to that particular supervisor. And then finally, from time to time, we surprise ourselves. These are things that are unknown to the self and kind of unknown to others. And you'll hear people, talk about, well, in that moment, I just sort of looked inside myself and I found this. And I discovered that I was, capable of that type of behavior, based on the extreme circumstance that I found myself in. And that's the unknown area. So Johari Window, big concept in interpersonal communication, big concept in social science. And I think that it's a great leadership tool as well. And it's a good way, to kind of talk about why your perception of someone may differ from other people's perceptions, or your perception of yourself may differ from other people's perceptions. That is essentially chapter 2 in a nutshell, and it's an interesting chapter. There's an additional reading that's been posted for you there in the online classroom, and that additional reading has to do with reflected self-appraisal and the emerging self, and how elementary school math teachers, how female elementary school math teachers may communicate math phobia to elementary school children. So check out that extra reading and look at that and evaluate that, and see how you think that interacts with the chapter, And if you discover, some interesting linkages there, by all means, explore those in your journal if you would like to. Take care of yourself. Have a great day. Sorry to be presenting the information in this format. I look forward to seeing you during our next class period. Have a great day. Bye-bye.